Jesus. I forgot to reset that. Hold on. Another dude we could bring off the edge as well. And then we, brought in Demonic Williams from TCU. Big body, 312 pounds.
Insane name.
Insane name.
What's his name?
Demonic Williams. Literally, Damonic.
Demonic name.
But anyways, loaded in the interior.
Yeah.
We got R. Mason Thomas as well at the edge, who I think is going to be a really good player if he can stay healthy. And then we brought in people like Danny Okoye. What sticks out to me is Jaden Jackson. Was at IMG, was teammates with David Stone. David Stone always talked about how he was the better defensive lineman. Pauly, he's weighing at 312 pounds as a true freshman. He was named preseason freshman All-American. He's getting a nod against Temple. Really excited about him because we just haven't had that type of weight on the interior defensive line. And you have loaded linebackers with Danny Kip Lewis, who I think will really highlight as he started towards the latter part of last year. He's a really talented player. I think he had like 23 tackles for loss, and he didn't even start the whole year. Really, really talented guy. The offensive line has been a big question mark for Oklahoma. Understandably so, losing a lot of people from via the draft and just graduation. But we brought in a lot of people. We brought in Branson Hickman, who was second team All-American, or second team in the American Conference at SMU. He was their center last year. And that showed up to me immediately when SMU played Nevada. He was kind of the anchor for that team on the offensive line. Was immediately kind of weak right there. We have Jacob Sexton, really talented tackle from Oklahoma. So the offensive line, I think, is in a really good spot. Now, if people start getting hurt is when I'll kind of like worry. But I think the initial starters are good. And Bill Biddingbow, he plays the 5 best. It doesn't matter if you're a 5-star or a walk-on. He's getting his 5 best linemen every year on the field. And I have confidence that he's going to put out a good unit because he has failed to do it. So it's like if he hasn't not put out a quality product, it's hard to go against that. Kind of like Sark with the offense, kind of like any of these other gurus and things like that.
So that's my question for you, Mr. Oklahoma fan. This is just from a personal place. Obviously, your offense has been a big point of contention amongst your fan base, specifically coming from you. Obviously, you've had your things to say about former offense coordinator Coach Levy. Now that he's at Mississippi State with the gentleman that you guys are now bringing in to replace that, what do you think that he does differently that we can see that will help Oklahoma rather than hurt them?
Yeah, I think Seth Littrell is a really good offensive coordinator. I mean, when at North Texas, he was pitting up as a head coach, it's insane numbers. It was actually a travesty that
Seth Littrell. Yes.
It was a travesty that he got fired. I think he was a former fullback, was a captain of the national championship team for Oklahoma in 2000. So it means something for him to be the OC here. He was also a good OC at Indiana back in the days. I think it was like 2012 to 2014 era. He was putting up points there. Indiana isn't good at football, but he's scoring 40 points in the Big Ten, which is that's a good number, right? Yeah. And then you have your QBs, Jackson Arnold, had some turnover problems against Arizona.
Southside.
But he's a 5-star quality quarterback. Arm talent is out the roof. If he can slow down with his reads and make good decisions, I think he'll be really good. He is loaded at receiver. Nick Anderson had 10 touchdowns as a redshirt freshman last year. Deion Burks, one of the most electric players in the portal from Purdue, in the slot, replacing the Drake Stoops role. And I think he's going to take not only what Drake was doing last year, being in the same role, but you're putting a more explosive receiver in that position to capitalize on some of the moments. Losing Jaden Gibson was a big hurt to me. He's one of my favorite receivers, 6'3" or 6'5" from Florida.
Where did he go?
He tore his ACL.
Oh,
he's out for the year.
Okay, that's yeah.
Losing him was a huge hurt, but we have depth at receiver. Farouk is back. Andrew Anthony is back as well. He had like 80 or 90 yards against Texas before he tore his ACL in that game.
Yeah.
Solid receiver, and the running backs are good. Gavin Sawchuk, Taylor Tatum, Javante Barnes. Taylor Tatum really high on, former 5-star number 1 overall running back in the 2024 class.
All illegally recruited.
Nah, all loaded. And then the player that really...
I've been smiling him so much because he's just sitting there, and I just know he wants to say something.
I do have a question.
Seriously, you can ask
Drake versus Kendrick in the college football world.
I know you and everybody at Oklahoma and most people around the nation feel about Oklahoma's defense. Offensively, not only I know you're going to give your thoughts on them, but do you guys looking at your schedule? A lot of toss-up games. They got some spreads out early, like Tennessee and Auburn. Oklahoma's favored by 3.5 against Tennessee at home, favored by 2.5 on the road to Auburn, and then they got the Texas spread. Texas 7.5-point favorite. They got Ole Miss at a 6.5-point favorite. Missouri is favored by 3.5, and then they don't have the Alabama or LSU spreads, but that's a lot of toss-up games.
Yeah.
Historically speaking, one, toss-ups, you're usually going to split those in the season.
Yeah.
2, do you think offensively, you got the questions on the offensive line. You got a first-year starter at quarterback. With this schedule and the tough physical, like this, a lot of physical football games.
Yeah.
You'll have the depth offensively for the long run this season on the offensive line and just in general on the offense if and when injuries come because of the schedule, quite frankly.
I
Yeah.
see y'all 5-0 going into Red River, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
We're
I-
at worst 4-1.
Yeah, I think realistically with the schedule, if you want to go into that real quick, I think with Tennessee, I think we win that game because we're at home, and I think that's the factor in that game. We're at home. Auburn, it's Auburn. It's going to be a buzzsaw playing in Jordan Hare Stadium. It's hard to play there.
With a coach who knows how to game plan.
But-
even if his team isn't good, he can still.
Yeah, but
throw
that's the thing.
some-
I'm not
He
really
has
too.
a few a year where it's like,
Yeah.
here's a Hugh Freeze game.
I'm not
Yeah.
too worried though because we have Brent Venables, and the amount of depth on the defensive side of the ball, seniors especially at key positions, Mike linebacker and strong safety, and then
Yeah.
you bring in additional high quality recruits in depth. I think we'll be fine on that part. What I think is going to help us win a lot of these games is Seth Luttrell being a former fullback, and him and Bill Beatingbow are literally family. I think Seth Luttrell's sister-in-law is married to someone on Bill's side. I think they're going to really work together in the
That's
run.
a crazy pull.
Yeah, I think they're really going to work together.
how it works, bro.
It's a crazy pull.
I think they're really going to work together in the running game. I think they're going to bring out some running concepts that Oklahoma was kind of getting away from with Levy, a lot of the RPO stuff. They're going to do more traditional zone insert, outside, inside zones with the running backs and kind of work simultaneously with Bill to put the best product on the field.
Yeah.
Brent was saying in his press conference that he wants more game control because there's a lot of the times with Jeff Levy's offense, you might put up a bazillion points, but then you might go 3 and out in 25 seconds and then the defense is back on the field.
Which is crazy because that game against TCU last year was astonishing. The
Yeah,
fact-
because you're gonna the thing is we can score fast, but it doesn't matter if your defense has got to stop and then they're out there a minute later. So you got to know tempo. You got to understand how to work with your coordinators and give your players rest, give them snaps off the field to put the best product on the field.
Yeah.
I think Jackson Arnold will have a good season, and I'm really high on the backup, Michael Hawkins. Really, really, really talented quarterback. He's a freshman, but his talent's out of this world when it comes to mobile, throwing the ball, all those things. We have Casey Thompson as well. I think they're kind of 1A, 1B. Hold on. I think they're kind of 1A,
you knew you were
1B.
going to get that reaction from the Texas fans. In there.
Yeah, that's fine. I think it's 1A, 1B, like as a backup. But Casey he's not going to play unless, for example, Jackson gets hurt.
He's a locker room guy.
It's time for him to get a real job.
Yeah. Well, and I think he's more of
He's
like
a locker room guy. He's a veteran that's gonna bring the team together.
100%.
Oh, he's a veteran, all right.
But he's a QB.
Quinn Ewers was in the 8th grade when he signed at Texas.
He's a QB that will be brought in if we're already up on a team and we need someone to just finish the game. I think Michael Hawkins would be, if Jackson was hurt for 4 games, you start Michael Hawkins, getting him the reps. He has more upside. He's young, but he has more upside than Casey
And
Thompson.
you got to think too, man. Jackson Arnold, again, I'm just high on him because of where he came from and seeing his film in high school and what he did against some of the premier teams
I hate
in the state of
Denny Dyer.
Texas. You give that man an opportunity to work with a good offense. And I think that's, again,
If he can start seeing safeties and linebackers.
I was telling.
He can.
Oh,
That's-
he just reminds me of when Spencer first came in.
Well,
Like,
he
great
played-
he's
arm.
just a little more talented than Sam Ellinger.
Well, he played 1 game and still, he had turnovers, but he still put up 400 yards of offense.
So it's just reminiscent. So Jackson Arnold's true freshman year, when he was at Geyer, he played Westlake and State.
I played Denton Guyer State.
Got whooped.
Gerard
didn't you?
Hurd.
That see, yep. So he was a freshman on varsity, and their starting quarterback blew out his knee the first drive of the game. So Jackson Arnold goes in. Obviously, he loses. Right, he's playing a stacked Westlake team. But it was more so. It was interesting because if you look at how he played in that game, made some good throws, still did good. And kind of how he played against Arizona. Arizona was one of the most loaded teams defensively. They had majority juniors and seniors on that defense. Obviously, they were having a phenomenal year under a coach who is known for making phenomenal adjustments on the fly in Jet Fisher.
we had a ton of opt-outs, too. We had 4 linemen not play.
High school kids aren't ready for that
Against,
Westlake defense, bro. Quarterbacks,
against Arizona.
They can't. That Westlake defense too.
I think Colson Vasek was on that defense.
Colton Vasek,
yes,
Michael
bro.
Taft.
Well, that's the thing. Jackson Arnold has been starting in big games since he's been a sophomore. His first start was in the state championship game his sophomore year at Denton Geyer. He's played in the moments. He's got to get adjusted. And, how these message boards are. But at the end of the day,
We're talking about
People
The
Barstool.
message board started an investigation.
the thing
against
is,
Michigan.
when you've been in a fall camp, you're playing the same offense every single day.
Yeah.
You're going to know the tendencies. every single
Yeah,
day.
if your defense gets killed in camp, you got problems.
Exactly. That's an
Facts.
issue.
No big deal, though. Speaking of sophomore seasons in high school, Quinn Ewers had like 53 touchdowns and 2 interceptions as a sophomore in the toughest district in the state of Texas, arguably. But whatever.
But-
Maybe the greatest sophomore season out of a quarterback.
But the thing is, it's like I think they will be fine. The player I'm really excited to see is Bauer Sharp at the tight end position. He came from Southeastern, the FCS, but he was highly recruited in the
Southeastern
portal.
Oklahoma?
No, Southeastern, the green and yellow.
In
school,
Louisiana?
Oh, yeah.
So he was he was a former quarterback. He was highly recruited by Georgia, Alabama, all these elite SEC programs in the portal. We got him in the portal, and we actually have explosive tight ends in the room. And now that we don't have the traditional RPO, I think we're going to utilize the tight ends more in the passing game, which will open up a lot of stuff, especially for a young QB. You want that security blanket early and often in the offense.
It's a disservice whenever Oklahoma doesn't have a serviceable tight end, bro.
Exactly. And last year we had Austin Sogner, who was not the same version of himself when he was formerly at Oklahoma, went to South Carolina, then came back.
Yeah.
He had some injuries, some medical things, and he wasn't the same player. But I think now, scheme-wise, the tight end's going to be a huge addition with us. And then going into the Temple game, I'm not really too worried about it. We have a lot of players that are like kind of like banged up from fall camp. Nick Anderson won't be playing, things like that.
Yeah, Carlos called your program a 2-cent program when he said, what do you say about weak teams playing on Friday?
Broke
Friday,
teams
Thursday
play
night?
on
I
Thursday.
said, no, not Friday.
Was it just Thursday?
Thursday and Friday.
You said Thursday or Friday.
No, I said Thursday and Friday.
So it was still a shot.
He was implementing
No.
stuff.
He was implementing something.
But no, I was not.
Carlos is a low key.
No,
is a low key
I was
instigator.
not. If I took a shot at Oklahoma, I'd say broke teams play out Friday. That's what I would say.
High
But I
schools
said
play on
Thursday
Friday.
and
High
Friday.
schools in Oklahoma.
Anyways, I have 2 questions for you.
Okay, go ahead.
One, injuries are inevitable.
Yes.
That's going to happen. People
sure.
are going to get hurt. People are going to get banged up.
For sure.
People are going to be hurt and playing.
Yes.
So, why aren't you worried about that now? Because you said if we do have injuries, that's when I'll be worried. They're going to happen. Or B, is it just certain positions that you're just kind of worried about if injuries occur there?
Well, the thing is, we have 10 to 13 serviceable, really good offensive linemen. The thing is, I'm not worried about the O-line because, like I said, until Bill shows that he can't put
Well,
out.
that's what I said. Is there a certain positions that you...
If anything, it would be the O-line, but that's just it. Anywhere else, we're just deep at. Defensively, especially. And when I say, and I'm going and to go to my next point, Peyton Bowen and Billy Bowman are returning kicks, which those are some of the most dynamic players out of the state of Texas when it comes to returning kicks in the special teams game. And I think the reason why Brent,
Wave your hands, wave your hands,
I think
wave
the
your
reason
hands.
why Brent is Brent Venables is okay pitting these guys on the special teams unit is because of how loaded we are at safety. So if these guys were to go down, we have additional guys that can play there. Woody Washington comes back, another player that's played corner a lot at Oklahoma. He's been getting some playing time at Cheetah, some playing time at safety and strong safety, free safety, so he can put more stuff on tape for NFL scouts. So I'm not really worried about injuries in that hindsight. Obviously, they're going to happen and things like that, but I think the team is primed. And I think once the season starts playing or the season starts and people start watching the games, a lot of the Oklahoma narratives will be changed and flipped. That's just what I think and what I do know. And like going on to what Shoney was saying about some of the coin flip games, yeah, there's a lot of coin flip games, but when I look at these teams we're playing outside of Texas, you got Missouri, a team that lost 9 people to the NFL. They're not
They got
talking.
Caden Green, though.
Yeah, they promised him to play tackle. And he's playing guard there, so
It's versatile kid.
we're gonna blitz.
Good offensive lineman.
We're jacking that gap up all day.
You're
in
going
Columbia.
to?
All day in Columbia, but we got Missouri.
All right, Caden.
Not too worried about them, to be honest.
Clip it.
Ole Miss, that's a soft football team. You got Lane Kiffin posting articles.
I disagree.
Doing hot dog eating contests during 7-on-7.
Love Lane Kiffin.
We love them too, but
Doesn't sound like it.
I'm just telling you.
Lane.
I'm just telling.
It was my dark horse last year.
If that
You
was
know
our,
Lane loves media hating on him.
if that was us,
Lane,
everybody
that's
be like,
not
"Oh,
us. That is not an opinionated media take.
That
I don't
is
know
a
what camera.
Cam
That is a
theory.
I'm
Cameron
just
theory
saying,
take.
if that was
Please,
us or y'all
disclaimer.
doing that, y'all would be like, "What are you
You
doing?"
coach my team any day of the week.
Facts,
Lane.
100%.
That's all I'm gonna say. But when it goes to Auburn, same thing. And we got Bama at home as a game I like at home, and then LSU. There's a lot of people that are high on them, but it's hard to when your defense is that bad a year before. It is really hard to get drastically better. And they also lost elite players in the NFL. Jaden Daniels, Brian
Neighbors.
Thomas, Malik Neighbors. When you're losing that type of talent on offense, yeah, you can replace it all you want with recruiting and portal people, but they're not going to hit It's not a guarantee hit that they're going to replicate
Those
what they
are
did on
All-Americans.
offense the year before. That offense was insane last year. One of the best
I've
ever
always
we've
said
seen.
that though. They crank out those receivers.
But they do.
They do.
But yeah, I mean, that's enough on Oklahoma.
Well, my
Go
second
ahead.
Aaron
question.
Nussmeier should be pretty solid.
My second question: when, because y'all, I don't know, I don't follow y'all's fan base like that, but you're very high on Brent.
Of course.
When do you kind of start to worry? Because obviously year one's year one. That's whatever. Year two, y'all were very high on them. Didn't go to the Big 12 championship. Lost to Oklahoma State.
In Kansas. But we lost
and
to them
Kansas.
both by
I know.
combined 10 points.
Lost to them, and then you're going into the SEC, and then right here, it's basically a pick 'em between 7.5 over under. It's over 7.5 at -120, under 7.5 at 100. So, at what point are you kind of worried that Brent isn't the guy? If you are,
I mean, if we don't win 8 games, I mean the standard.
So 7.
The standard at Oklahoma is to compete for championships. It doesn't matter what conference you're in. Historical data has shown that Oklahoma is one of the top, if not the top 5 programs in the history of the sport. And when it doesn't matter what conference they're in, Oklahoma usually is dominating in that conference. We have the resources as well. We have the talent. And the thing is, when you look at recruiting, Oklahoma has been recruiting better than we were in the Lincoln Riley eras from a totality standpoint. We're getting elite level players on the defensive side of the ball, and we're still getting elite offensive players. We got Jackson Arnold, who's a 5-star QB. We just landed Michael Fasusi. We just got Taylor Tatum. All 5-star offensive players. A lot of the questions was when Lincoln Riley left was, can Brent recruit the offense at the same clip? He's still doing that, and he's recruiting on the defensive line and significantly better in the trenches. So I think that is a big implement of like what's to come. Obviously, he's still a young coach. He still has a lot to learn, but I think Seth Luttrell, because it was kind of like, yes, Jeff Lebby, going to Mississippi State isn't the top job you want to leave for OC, but it is an SEC job. So for Lebby, it was kind of like he might not ever get another job in the SEC, at least at this moment. So he kind of had to take it. Getting Seth Luttrell, I think, fits Brent better because this is a coach who knows that you need to run the ball. He is a former head coach. He knows clock management and game management. And a lot of those games we lost, the game against Kansas, delay, things like that, and the play calling was really suspect. And then against Oklahoma State, there was just a lot of play calling in that game that was just not good in situational instances, which I think caused us to lose. So
Vanderbilt had no self-control. Remember that? Got that flag, lost the other game.
horrible call. You can't call that on the body. Horrible PI call on Makari Vickers as well.
Don't
So
put
if y'all
yourself
don't
in a
win 8
position
games,
like that. Don't
Yeah,
put
we don't win
yourself
any
in a
games,
position.
but I have us realistically 9-3, 10-2. That's where I think we're going to be at. I think Texas game's a coin flip, and then you got a lot of these toss up games. The schedule is brutal, but I think Oklahoma, from a roster standpoint, we have a better roster than everyone we play besides Texas and Alabama. So that's what I look at as well. From a roster standpoint, we're better than
Ole
all.
Miss?
Yes, we
You
better
don't
roster.
have a better roster than Ole Miss.
When all these people leave, they're not going to have anyone. The cover's going to
Oh
be
yeah,
there.
like next year.
That's what I'm saying.
saying.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I'm not like
They're
from
just
a
gonna keep transfer portaling.
yeah, but
One
They
year,
got-
some years should be high, some years
how,
should be
It's
low.
how-
Ole
how
Miss,
do we know
and
that?
they
Do we
got
know
the
that's
money.
going to keep working? Though?
No, it'll
That's
be
what I'm
you'll
saying.
hit miss. You'll hit.
Yeah.
miss.
So, but that's all I'm saying. Like I think we're going to be a solid team. 9-3, 10-2 is kind of where I have us at, and I think too for a lot of fans, I think we all got to realize. You're going 9-3, 10-2 in these super conferences. As long as you're,
It's different.
As long as you're
that
it's
would be a
different
massive-
nowadays.
as long as you're getting in the playoffs, or at
That's
least
undefeated. And
yeah, it's like the NFL now. As
yeah.
long as you can get in the playoffs, that should be the standard. My expectation is for Oklahoma to make the playoffs, and anything after that is a plus. This year, make the playoffs. The next year, when Jackson is more seasoned, I want us to be competing for the SEC.
Y'all are plus 500 make the
and things
playoffs,
like
which is
that.
good.
So yeah,
I like those odds.
yeah,
yeah, plus 500.
yeah,
9 ranked teams in the SEC.
yeah. And a lot of
How
these,
many teams make the playoffs?
a lot of these teams
3,
are over.
4?
A lot of I have
Max 4.
four.
SEC?
I have 4 or 5 in the SEC, depending on these other conferences. I think I think Florida State losing really hurt the ACC a lot. Yeah. You still got Clemson over there, which we'll get into, but yeah. Going into some other topics. All right, so now we got a couple segments, some quick stuff that we're gonna talk about. Get through some of this stuff, but we got it's hot seat season. There's some coaches on the hot seat, so we're gonna do a little roundtable of what coaches we think are on the hot seat this year.
My take is going to be my guy, Dave Aranda, unfortunately. Obviously, it sucks because he's been now 4th season at Baylor, right? And first season, best season in Baylor football history, 12-1. You win the Big 12, right, over a very good Oklahoma State team. and you beat Ole Miss, right? What a way to capitalize it. Since then, it's obviously been rough tidings. But I think with the adjustment and everything that he's made, it gets him an opportunity to get back on track, finish over 600 or over 500, and then allow him to retain his job. But I mean, it's not a conversation. I think definitely speaking, Aranda's out of the entire Big 12 is the coach on the hot seat right now. Again, don't want that for my guy. I truly do love him and what he does with defenses and the kind of guy that he is and how he fits Baylor in terms of just being. Again, you watch his interviews, you watch how he carries himself, how he talks. Man is a very salt of the earth individual. He's not for
he's a great guy.
Bro,
Yeah.
not for the games, not for the nonsense. That's how I like my coaches, right? Be about it, do it, keep it moving.
Yeah, Waco. I mean, Baylor. They're such a prestigious, morally driven university. Always have been.
You know what I'm saying?
They always get coaches that just good
Always,
guys.
just always, right?
Good guys.
Always, right? Shout out Matt Rule.
Never had a bad coach.
Never had a bad coach.
Didn't do anything bad.
Technically, we've never had a bad coach. Actions-wise is a different story. But,
Off the field, different story. Locker room, different story.
hey, look, no disrespect Robert Griffin like that. Look, all right. But yeah, Dave Aranda's
Oh,
going to be
he's not
my
a coach?
Dave Aranda's going to be my hot seat coach for this upcoming season.
My hot seat coach is going to be Mario Cristobal.
I like that one.
He's going Miami.
Yeah. I mean, he's in Miami. He's definitely had the talent to have some good seasons. He's 12 and 13 overall since being at Miami, 6 and 10 in the ACC.